Yes, we can. You can see your screen.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. I caught a bit of what Sarah was speaking about. So yes, at the end of this first four sessions, right, which is like the fundamentals, like the beginners, introducing you to Microsoft 365, and of course the modern workplace. We expect that we are prepping you to actually take certification exams which you can now use to put out to the world like, oh yes, I'm a certified Microsoft 365 or Microsoft certified professional in this area and what have you, right? I can do this, I can do that, right? And then of course you can now use that to apply for internship roles, apply for actual job roles, right? Which will now build you, help you to really grow in a defined career path, right? So we are really the agenda for today, right? How we organize this, like I said, for the fundamentals track, we'll be having four classes, right? So for the next 4 Saturdays. So I'll be taking the first and second. Sorry, I initially thought our first class was going to be last week, Saturday. That's why you see day one as 5th of February. So it's supposed to be 12th of February. I would correct that later. So I'll be taking the first and second classes, right? And then Sarah would be taking us through the third and the fourth sessions, right? So today we're really looking at an introduction to cloud concepts and Microsoft 365. Why do we need to use cloud services instead of on-premises? And then even for most of us here, when you hear cloud services on-prem, what's it sounds like alien terms, right? So what is the difference between having a service in the cloud and having it on premises, right? And then how can you actually go ahead to create and exploit Microsoft 365 tenants, right? So we don't just want this to be like, it's not going to be a talk session. It's actually going to be hands-on, right? So everyone will get to create a tenant, and that environment is where you get to experiment with it. You can create users, delete users, create groups, and it's not like it's an actual organization that any mistake you make, right, can affect everyone, right? So you have the chances to make your mistakes and then correct them, and so that when you come back to class you have questions to ask based on based on your experience basically, or based on trying out in your demo environment. So I'll just get started, right? So cloud, when you hear cloud computing, what's the first thing that comes to mind? I remember the first time I really heard about cloud computing, I was in my third year in the university because I studied computer science, right? So I was my third year in the university, and then I didn't even hear about it in school, right? I don't think they even ever mentioned it in school like that. I just happened to, what's it called, sign up for a seminar, right? Although, of course, that was pre-COVID, right? So there was no lockdown. Everyone could, if there is a seminar or a conference, you can actually attend it in person, right? So similar to what we are having now, right? But then it was a physical event. So I happened to sign up for that event. I even had to come down to Lagos to attend and all of that. And I was just in awe. Like they were talking about cloud computing, talking about servers, talking about, routers and all those other things. And I was like, I don't think, like, in my years of studying computer science so far, my lecturers have not mentioned anything about all of this, right? So it was like a totally new world. And I was really excited at the end of the day. They even took us on like a field trip. We got to visit some companies, got to see people actually working, right? And it was quite interesting. And I remember since then I was like, okay, I would really love to learn more about this cloud that everyone keeps talking about, right? I would really love to actually implement this and get my hands into this, right? And also come out there and say, oh yes, I'm a cloud expert, right? So but then when I thought of cloud computing, I really just thought of computers sitting in the air, right? It was quite confusing to grasp. But then, as I got to grow, as I got to, research more about the subject or the topic and what have you, then I was able to see that, oh, cloud computing is simply, taking advantage of like a network of remote servers, right? So it's more like you are leasing someone else's computer to be able to carry out your own tasks and responsibilities. It's just like, for example, right, you have your mobile phone, you have your Gmail, you have your Outlook mail and what have you. You don't actually have a big server in your house that houses all your emails and all of that, right? People don't come to meet you and say, okay, yes, you've received an email from this person, and then drop it in that server box or in that room, right? You just know that you sign into your Gmail account or you sign into your Outlook account, and then you're able to see your emails. You can store your files in Google Drive or in OneDrive and so on and so forth, right? So cloud computing is basically the practice of using a network of remote servers hosted on the internet, sorry, to store, to manage, and to process data, rather than having it in your environment, like rather than having it in your living room or in your office space or even on your personal computer, right? So it just makes it a lot easier. You're taking advantage of storage elsewhere. You're not even bothered about if the antivirus on that server is up to date, or if you even run out of space, right? You can always buy more storage, right? I'm sure that a lot of us right now, even my Gmail keeps telling me that I've exhausted like 90% of my storage space, right? So I know I can always opt into purchase additional storage. I don't need to say, oh no, what am I going to do? Maybe I start deleting emails or deleting documents. I can't do that, but then I can always just purchase more, right? So simply put, it's just the delivery of different services through the internet, right? So you're getting different services through the internet. Now, when you talk about deploying cloud computing, we have three deployment models. We have the public cloud. Now, public cloud is basically available to the public for use and purchase. An example is what I've been given, which is your Gmail service, your Outlook, the personal Outlook service, right? Or having a personal Microsoft account. It's possible for you to actually have a personal Microsoft account without you don't need to pay for it. You just take advantage of it, use it for to send emails back and forth and all of that, right? Another example is even your Google Drive, right? Many of us right now, when you buy your Android device, you already comes with you have to create like a free Google account and all of that. Even Google Photos, or if you're using an iOS device, that's an Apple device, then you get to create like an iCloud account. Yes, iCloud account, and then it's free, right? So that's a public cloud. It's available for public use and purchase, right? Then you also have private cloud. So that's available exclusively to members of an organization or a business, right? So we'll see even more differences between these three deployment models. And then we also have hybrid cloud. So hybrid is a combination of public and private, right? Such that data and applications can be shared between them. So a company, for example, and still another example of public cloud is even the Microsoft 365 service, right? Because it's not there is no restriction. You can buy Microsoft 365 for your personal use. We'll still get to see what is actually Microsoft 365. Don't worry, right? So you can buy it for your personal use. You can buy it for your company. You can buy it for various reasons, for even just to keep your home devices connected, right? And then private cloud is more restricted, right? The company is saying we just want to be able to manage. We do not want external people to be able to access our apps. We do not want external people to be able to, access our data. We just want to manage ourselves in this, in this environment, and we don't want external access at all. But then when you now say hybrid, it's now a combination of public and private, right? We want to be able to have some applications that our customers can connect to. But those applications too can be managed by people inside our environment, right? And they can be updated by people in our company, right? So that's like an example of a hybrid concept. We'll get to know more as we proceed. Yeah. So this is just like a table showing further differentiating the different deployment or cloud computing types, right? Between public, private, and hybrid. Now, for public cloud, you don't need any capital expenditure. You don't need to actually, you're not concerned with, oh, okay, let me buy a big server. And how many of us have watched movies, like movies of the beginning of the computer age, right? And then you see these huge machines that lots of people are they are being paid to manage those machines. They are being paid to make sure that those machines are always up and running 24/7 and all of that, right? That's like that's actually the hardware, and the company is concerned with making sure that that system is up and running. But if you're using a public cloud, then you don't need to bother about, oh, if the actual server is fine, if it's okay. Microsoft is going to worry about that for you. Google is going to worry about that for you. So you're not concerned with that. All you're concerned with is, I just plug in or I just sign in, and then I'm able to use my applications as I like, right? So applications can be quickly provisioned and they can be deprovisioned. I can decide that, oh yeah, today I want to sign up for Gmail. Tomorrow I can wake up and say, I don't think I need Gmail any longer. Or today I want to sign up for Microsoft 365. Tomorrow I can decide I'm not renewing the subscription, right? I don't need it any longer, and so on and so forth. And then organizations or individuals, when you're using the public cloud, you pay only for what you use, right? So you don't get to pay for you only pay for services that you use, basically, simple as that, right? Now, in a private cloud environment, the company has to purchase the hardware in order to start up and to for maintenance purposes, right? They actually need to purchase that huge server, employ someone who is going to make sure that that server is up and running, employ someone who is going to make sure that the antivirus is in place and all of that, and maintain that system, right? Also, organizations have complete control over the resources and security of that cloud system, right? So it's more common in enterprises, huge organizations, because they don't want, of course, to ensure that their systems are secure, to keep especially, for example, banks, they have like crazy compliance, should I say, rules and all of that, right? Regulations that they really need to comply to, right? So for such an organization, they need to really have complete control over their resources and security. And then, of course, organizations are also responsible for the hardware maintenance and updates. Now, for hybrid cloud, right, I mentioned earlier that it's a mix of public and private, right? So it gives organizations access to, like, it's more flexible. I gave an example earlier that, oh, maybe as an organization or even the bank, right? Most banks today are running on hybrid cloud. Why? Now, your bank has server rooms and all of that. Like, they have server rooms, they have an entire IT department in charge of monitoring those servers and all of that, making sure that they are well maintained and everything. Now, but then banks also have customers, right? And they have applications that customers need to be able to connect to. Customers need to be able to, enter details. You need to make your transfers. You need to submit a complaint. You need to interact with them, right? Interact with their systems and all of that, right? But then if they made their system completely private and they block out everyone else that is not a member of the bank, how would that be possible? So that's where you now have hybrid. So it's flexible. They give some access to, external people, so that you can connect with them, you can collaborate with them, you can take advantage of some of the apps that they've made available to you as their customer, right? Organizations control the security, control compliance or legal requirements, because of course they still need to ensure that the system is secure, right? If people are connecting from, if external guests are connecting to the system, then we need to ensure that it's like the right control and compliance and security and all of that is in place. And then organizations determine where to run their applications. So they can choose to run their applications within their server, block access to external guests and all of that, or they can place it on the public cloud and then just do some connections and all of that, right? So as we that's not really you don't need to bother yourself right now with how those connections work at the moment, because like I said, this is the fundamentals class. But it's just good to have that in mind, right? Because when you're actually taking, if you choose to take like the certification exam, you can say a question like, oh, okay, what sort of which of these is a cloud computing type, or which of these is a cloud deployment option, right? So they will give you various options, and then you get to say, oh yes, I remember we have public, we have private, we have hybrid cloud, right? Or they just give a scenario, and then you can now say, oh, this sounds like it's a totally restricted environment, no one has access to it. That means it's probably private, right? So just as an example. Now, cloud computing advantages, right? So why should I want to take advantage of cloud computing? Why should I want to, buy into or maybe place my data in someone else's computer? Because like I said earlier, cloud computing is more or less like you are leasing, you're renting, let me say renting, you're renting someone else's computer or someone else's server to carry out your job or to carry out your tasks or to store your data. So why should I actually take advantage of that? Now, here are some advantages, right? We have high availability. It's scalable. High availability meaning um, very rarely would you see that, okay, maybe you wanted to access your data, so long as you're connected to the internet, that you want to access your data or you want to access your emails, and then it tells you that, oh, the system is down, right? Or there maybe your data has been corrupted and what have you, right? It's usually you have that, should I say, 99.9%, sorry, assurance that your system or your data is always available, your apps are always available and all of that when you need them, right? So you have that 24/7 assurance basically. And then it's scalable, so I can start out with very little, just like I said. For example, my Gmail is already telling me that I've used up 90%. The free Gmail gives you access to, I think, 15 gig. Yes, 15 gig storage space, right? So that's like the minimum amount, and it's free. Now, I can choose to scale up, right? I can choose to I can choose to scale out. I can choose to add more data. I can choose to just to make sure that I don't run out of space and all of that. That's an option to me. It's elastic. Yet again, still talking about the fact that you can easily stretch it out. You can add more apps or add more services to what you already enjoy, right? It is agile, so it's not a system that is just um, as it is this year. It's going to remain the same thing for the next 2 or 3 years. It changes because, of course, technology is always evolving, right? The workplace is always evolving. So most of these apps are always being updated. That's why even your regular mobile phone apps, as little as even your WhatsApp is also a cloud service, by the way, right? It's a public cloud service. So even as your WhatsApp, right, that you have on your mobile device, that's why once in a while you'll see that, oh, your WhatsApp is telling you to run the latest update and all of that, right? And that's because it's an agile system. It's being updated on the regular, right? You have developers actually working on it every moment. And then geo distribution, it's available. So the reason why why you would hardly or very rarely face a downtime when using a cloud service is because your data is not just stored in one server, right? It's stored in multiple locations in multiple regions. So that if there's a downtime in one region, you can always fall back to another one, right? So you continue to run as if there's no issue. Also, disaster recovery, right? That's something that aids for disaster recovery. So if there's any issue with a particular region, you can always fall back to another one and you'll continue to work as if nothing even happened, right? Also, cloud service providers, they operate on a consumption based model, right? So, for someone taking advantage of, for example, Microsoft 365, we already said earlier, you only pay for what you use, right? You don't, and then you only pay at the point where you've already been told that, oh, okay, you're going into like a subscription based kind of service, right? So, for example, my Gmail is almost out of data. Google would not send me an email today and say, oh, from now henceforth, pay for 30 gig space. I didn't sign up for that, right? I didn't use 30 gig space. I've not opted into that option, right? So, but then what's more likely to happen is I can opt in and say, oh, okay, what options do you guys have for additional space? Oh, you have 10 gig. Oh, I think I'll go with 10 gig. It's more affordable for me. At least let me use that for the next 6 months and see where it takes me to, right? So it's a consumption based model. So there is no upfront cost, right? There is no need for you to purchase and manage costly infrastructure that users might not use to the fullest. You only pay for what you use, right? And then the ability to pay for additional resources when they are needed. You only pay for what you need, right? And then the ability to also stop paying for resources when they are no longer needed. I can wake up and say, I no longer need additional space, right? And I will remove my card details, and Google will stop charging me, or Microsoft will stop charging me going forward. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry, we'll soon be done with all this plenty grammar and English and all of that. It's just to really get us familiar with the cloud concept, right? So, aside from the types of cloud computing or cloud deployment options, we also have cloud service models. How many of us have heard of infrastructure as a service, or platform as a service before, or software as a service, right? For some of us, maybe you have friends in like the tech industry, and then they just tend to crack some jokes that you really can't relate with. I remember my sister once while she would just, maybe she's chatting with someone, and then she just come on WhatsApp and say, oh, referring to a colleague of hers, and she just goes like BAS, right? Brother as a service. And I'll just laugh because I understand, because I'm from a tech perspective, right? She has just basically formed that, should I say, abbreviation based on the idea of this cloud service models. Now, just as we have cloud service types, we also have, or cloud computing types, we have cloud service models. Now, these are models that guide you on, okay, what sort of cloud service am I even really opting in for? What sort of cloud services are out there for me to take advantage of? Aside from the types, what are the models available? Now, these are the top three models, right, that would always come up in the fundamentals exams. You can see something like which of these is a cloud service model, right? Or which of these is not a cloud service model. So the top three, we have infrastructure as a service, or for short, we call it IaaS. We have platform as a service, PaaS or PaaS, and then we have software as a service, SaaS or SaaS, right? So what's the difference between these three, and how is it relevant to us really? Now, if you talk about infrastructure as a service, right? In this cloud model, really, a cloud service provider will keep the hardware up to date. So the cloud service provider is only concerned with the hardware, right? The customer is just going to say, oh, I want to take advantage of your hardware, just like a customer telling you, I want to use your laptop. But the operating system that will run on that laptop, right? The network configurations, the apps, every other thing, the security and all of that, I would manage that myself. All I need is your laptop, right? So they're just taking advantage of the infrastructure, of the device, of the actual machine, right? So that's the idea behind infrastructure as a service, right? So the cloud provider will keep the hardware up to date, will keep will just make sure that, oh, okay, your device has the latest update and all of that, but you would be the one to decide what operating system you want to run on it. You be the one to manage it, to set up your network configurations. It's all up to you as the cloud tenant. The customer here is referred to as the cloud tenant, right? Then for platform as a service, I would still expatiate, or yeah, basically expatiate on this idea with the image we have on the screen. Now, for platform as a service, um, the cloud provider, which is like Microsoft or Google and what have you. So when I say cloud provider, I'm referring to, the organizations that give you access to cloud services, right? They manage the virtual machine and the network resources and all of that. But you as the customer, you decide what applications you want to host on that environment, right? So the cloud service provider is managing the operating system, they are managing the virtual machine, the compute, the networking, the storage, right? You just look at it's like a marketplace, right? It is actually a marketplace. So you will look, okay, I can set this up. I need a system that has this that is running on this operating system, that has this particular network coverage and all of that, that has this amount of storage, right? Then this is the type of system that will suit my application. I just want to run Microsoft Word on this system, or I just want to run, it can be a high-tech application. I just want to run this particular application and have my data, and when I'm done, I just want to use that service for just 1 week, or for 2 days, or for 3 days, and when I'm done, I'll shut it down. I'll pay for what I used, right? And then the most popular one is software as a service, right? So this is where even Microsoft 365 comes in place. Now, in software as a service scenario, the cloud service provider is basically managing all aspects of the application environment. So you are not concerned about where is the application sitting, what's the server type, what's the computer type that this application is currently sitting on, or all of that. You're not concerned about that. You just want to sign up, use the application, store your data, and then when you're done, if you even decide that you no longer need that application, you can end your subscription. It's just like all the cloud services that we use today, or all the services that you can easily sign up to today, right? I can choose to sign up to, maybe I'm into graphic design and I use Canva, right? There's an app that is used for, anybody can easily sign up and then just use it, design your graphics, and then when you're done, that's it. You can choose to continue that subscription, or you just leave it as it is, right? So that's Canva. You can do that with Canva. WhatsApp, you're not concerned with with where WhatsApp is hosted, sorry. All you are concerned with is, oh, I'm able to chat, I'm able to have my voice calls, my video calls, I'm able to join my groups and all of that on WhatsApp. That's a software as a service, right? So the image here, you can see, for example, for the on-premises, we have on-premises environment, we have infrastructure as a service, we have platform as a service, and then we have software as a service, right? For on-premises environment, this is the private cloud, basically, or simply put, right? So when you say on-premises, the company is managing everything. The company is managing the data, they are managing the application, they are managing the runtime, the operating system, every single thing. The company is managing it. The company employs people, right, that would make sure that this thing is maintained, this thing is running 24/7, there is no service downtime. They are not concerned if Microsoft should like, they should run an update, they should not run an update, they are fine, right? So most companies used to be on this, purely on premises, and most companies still are, right? They want to manage everything by themselves, right? So this is a typical example of when you say someone is on premises or a service is on premises. Everything is managed within the company. Now, when you say a company is taking advantage of infrastructure as a service, or they are currently using the IaaS model, right, which is, should I say, one of the most flexible of all three cloud service models, then you're saying that you as the customer, right, you're managing your data and who has access to that data. You're managing your application, you're managing your runtime, your operating system. You can choose if you want that, if it should run on Windows OS, you want it to run on, what's the name of this? Is it Python? Sorry, OS seems to be skipping my mind right now, right? But you can choose what operating system you want your system to run on, right? And then um, you can select like what sort of virtual machine it's going to be. However, the compute, the networking, and the storage, the size of the storage you'll be using, it's provided by the cloud service provider, right? So you just choose which one works for you. For infrastructure as a service, for platform as a service, you're taking at you are managing the data and access, you're managing the applications, but every other thing is managed by the cloud service provider. And then for software as a service, you're managing the data and access. Every other thing is, you're not concerned about how the application is running or what the application looks like. You're just taking advantage of the application as it is, and you're putting your data in there. You're collaborating on the platform as it is, right? So the idea might seem a bit broad and not so easy to grasp right now. But I advise that, after class you can still go through, you can do a research, on, just to get more details on these cloud service models, right? And then get more examples, and that will now help you to better understand how the concepts work. Now that we are done with the introduction to cloud computing, and then the cloud service models we have out there and all of that, we can go into Microsoft 365. So what is actually Microsoft 365, right? So Microsoft 365 is a service that really empowers users with the latest innovation, across new and familiar um, tools. Like, so it gives you access to tools like Microsoft Teams, which is what we are using to have this video call right now. You can have access to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, even your Windows operating system, right? All you need is connection to the internet, and you only need to subscribe to the service, right? So all of this is delivered over the cloud. You can connect to the service on any device, anytime, so long as you're connected to the internet, right? So Microsoft 365 has some components such as, we have Windows, and then you also have Microsoft 365 apps. So Windows, like the Windows operating system, Windows 10, Windows 8, and all of that, right? And then even the latest, because it always runs on the latest Windows update, right? So as if you're subscribed to the service today, if the latest Windows operating system is released, then it gets pushed to your system already, especially if it's something that your administrator has enabled, right? And then Microsoft 365 apps, like the popular ones you are used to, your Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and then several other productivity tools and apps that are available out there. And they are all delivered using the software as a service model. That's the SaaS model. So, meaning that Microsoft 365, you don't have to bother about how the system is, what system Microsoft 365 is sitting on, or what server is hosting it, or what's the size of the server that is hosting. No, no, no. You don't need to bother your beautiful heads about that, right? All you need to worry about is just sign up. You just sign up to the service and then start to take advantage of it, create data or store your data, collaborate with team members, and all of that. Now, Microsoft 365 is what we notice is that, especially in this region, right, it's a tool that is used in most workplaces, right? It's a tool that is used in most workplaces. Of course, even for most of us, even when you were running your, your BSc program, or even your, right from secondary school, when you are given a group work to do, oh, okay, work on this project or write an essay, make sure it's typed and printed and all of that. You find out that you go to the cyber cafe. What app is the cyber cafe attendee using? They are using Microsoft Word, right? So you are working on your project. You need to type in your project details and code. You use Microsoft Word. You need to create a presentation. You use PowerPoint. Now, the difference is that with Microsoft 365, you have access to all these services over the cloud, meaning that I don't need to really install it on one computer and then carry that computer with me everywhere I go. I can decide to migrate to Canada today, and maybe my laptop gets lost or something like that, right? However, I can still access all that I have typed and all of that, so long as I have a Microsoft 365 subscription and I was taking advantage of that. So it gives users and organizations access to the following capabilities. It makes you more productive. So productivity and teamwork, you can work with your team. Business management. So you have access to business management apps like your Power Apps, Power Platform, Planner, and all of that. And then security and compliance, right? So you can also make sure that you're working in a secure environment to see, oh, somebody is trying to access my data, or someone is trying to access my emails, right? You can actually set rules in place, right, to ensure that your system or your organization is safe and secure. Now, Microsoft 365 subscription options. There are various subscription options depending on the need, right? So we have Microsoft 365 for enterprise, which is used by, of course, enterprise organizations like your banks, even FMCG, like food organizations and all of that. When you talk of, like, for example, your spa, or should I say ShopRite and all of that, because these are really huge organizations, right? They have a lot of staff, right? So some of them actually fall under enterprise, so long as they have over 300 or over 500 users, right? Active users. So for we have Microsoft 365 plans for organizations like that, right? So Microsoft 365 Enterprise. So there are various plans under this. Like, for example, you have the E3 plan, you have the E5 plan, you have the F3 plan. And all these plans have different features depending on what the customer needs. I mentioned earlier that in cloud computing, you only pay for what you need. So I can't tell you that, oh, subscribe for all your users, right? With 1,000 naira, you can get access to email, you can get access to Google Drive, you can get access to all these things. And then you're like, but my user only needs to be able to send and receive emails. I don't think I need to have Google Drive or OneDrive for this user. Or this user doesn't really use Microsoft Word. He's just somebody that just finished school. So I don't need him to type anything, right? So you get to subscribe for based on your customer or your user's needs. And then we have Microsoft 365 for business. Now, this is designed for small and medium-sized businesses with like 300 users or less, right? So under Microsoft 365 Business, there are three main plans. We have the basic plan, we have standard plan, and we have premium plan. And they all have different features that distinguish them, right? So, and then we also have Microsoft 365 Education Plan. So this is for schools, right? So this is for educational organizations, and it basically empowers educators to unlock creativity, to promote teamwork, and all of that. And then Microsoft 365 Home Plan. This is for personal use. So as an individual, you can decide that maybe you want to have the properly licensed version of your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and all of that, right? So you can take advantage of the Microsoft 365 Home Plan, either the family or the personal plan. Now, okay, so before we get to the sign up part, okay, yeah. So what's it called? The Microsoft 365 plans, like I said, they give you access to different features, right? So for example, the Microsoft 365 business basic plan gives you access to Outlook, gives you access to OneDrive for Business. We'll still see this when we go into the demo session. So you actually get to see some of the plans in this subscription, right? So it gives you access to Outlook, gives you access to OneDrive for Business, gives you access to Microsoft Teams, and Word, Excel, PowerPoint on the web, right? Among other productivity tools. Okay, yeah, among other productivity tools. That's the basic Microsoft 365 Business Basic, right? Now, Business Standard allows you to install. Sorry, can we mute our mics, please? If you have a question, you can drop it in the chat box. Sorry, I can't really see. In case your hands are up, I can't really see right now. You can drop it in the chat box. We'll get to the point where we get to answer questions. Thank you. Please mute your mic. Thank you very much. Okay. So the business standard plan has all the features of the business basic. The difference is now that with business standard, you can install Word, Excel, PowerPoint on your device, right? So you can actually have it installed on your device. So where you have that properly activated Windows, or sorry, I said Windows, Microsoft subscription on your laptop, right? And it's not just applicable to one device. So you can have it installed on up to 5 devices, right? So 5 laptops, 5 tablets, 5 mobile devices with the business standard. And then with the business premium, you can have, or business premium comes with all the features of business basic, business standard, and then it now gives you access also to some advanced security features, and also to install Windows, the latest Windows version on your device or for your organization. So there are different plans available. Each of these plans come with different features, right? So I advise that after the class, yet again, you explore, do your own research to find out more about, these subscription options and what they come with. Because like I said earlier, if you choose to write the certification exam after these sessions, right, that's like a question you can get asked, right? So um, which of these plans, for example, which of these plans come with, the business standard plan, Microsoft 365 business standard plan, right? Or you are given a scenario and then you are asked to advise which of the plans will be best for this type of user. You have a user that just wants to be able to send and receive emails, for example, or a user that wants to be able to send and receive emails, collaborate with their team members on Microsoft Teams, and then use Word and Excel online. They don't want to have it on their laptop. They just want to use it on the web. That means they open Chrome or they open Internet Explorer or whatever, and then they're able to use those apps online, right? So which plan would you recommend for such a user? In that case, you're going to recommend Microsoft 365 Business Basic, right? And then if you now get asked, for example, you have a user or you have a customer who has over 300 users, right? Has over 300 users. they want to be able to, do this, do that, protect their information and all of that. And then maybe they also need audio conferencing features and advanced security. Then you'll probably be looking at the Microsoft 365 Enterprise E5 plan, right? So you need to take out time, look at, do an extended research on the Microsoft 365 subscription options, right? And then get more familiar with it. But the good thing is that also when you get the demo environment, you get to actually see some of these plans in there and you get to see how they actually work, right? So now we'll go into the actual demo session, right? So I'll be sharing this. Actually, I'll upload this document, this slide, to I think everyone is already signed up to. Sorry, sorry. Give me a sec. Sorry, please. I changed locations, so I got disconnected for a bit. Are we still together? Hello. Can you all hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so far, right? Because before I go into the demo session, I just want to ask, do we have any questions? I know some areas will seem like gray areas. You're like, okay, this is a lot of information. Where do I get started from? And all of that. But do you have any questions so far? I think we can answer some of them before we go into the demo.
I don't have any question yet. It's a lot to process, but maybe
Yeah.
we'll have questions later.
Okay, no problem. Yes, it can be a lot to process initially. Okay, so let me reshare my screen, right? And then I will take us through quickly on how you can sign up for the demo. um for yeah how, sorry, how you can sign up for a trial tenant. So this trial tenant will give you access for 90 days, right, to a Microsoft 365 environment. And in that 90 days, of course, you can, as we are having our classes, you can actually have your practical sessions in there. You can create users, create groups as we proceed, right? You get to manage the environment, right? You are the administrator. So yes, let me quickly share my screen and then I'll walk you through the steps on how you can. Okay,
Okay.
so this trial tenant is actually from the Microsoft 365 developer program, right? So first of all, you go to this link. I would, like I said earlier, okay, let me just copy the link and I'll post. Sorry.
Also, Joan, to can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes, to add to that, every 90 days it auto renew itself every 90 days. So you can use it for the period of even for your whole 1 year while you're doing what you're doing. It auto renews itself.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. That's our big madam, Mrs. Jumoke. So
Yes,
thank you
I'm
so
sorry.
much for joining
I'm
us.
just going around to be sure everyone is fine. So that's why I'm not fully on the call throughout.
Not at all. No, not a
Uh,
problem. I mean, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. So yeah, just a quick run through, right? So I would share the link with us, right? So everyone will get to, you click on the link, and then you have access to, join the developer program. So now when you sign up, initially you get 90 days access, but like Mrs. Jumoke mentioned, right? It's something that actually gets automatically renewed, especially if you're active on the trial tenant, right? So you can actually get to extend it from 90 days to even as far as a year, right? So, and it gives you, the good thing is that it gives you access to one of the largest trial, should I say, trial subscription, right, which is the enterprise E5 plan. So that means you can test out all the apps, right? So there is really no limit to what you can do with this trial tenant, right? So but the only requirement for you is that when you are signing up, you sign up with your personal Microsoft account. um since we're already on this Teams call, I believe that you had to convert your personal email to a Microsoft account. So you can use the email that you are currently signed in with, like the email that you used to join this call. You can use it to sign up for this developer program, right? It will walk you through some quick steps. You get to see, oh, okay, what sort of sandbox are you trying to create? Is it an instant sandbox or a configurable sandbox? When it says sandbox, the sandbox is just this environment where you can test, you know, more or less just saying a trial tenant, right? So you can go with the option of instant sandbox. Let me, instead of just even, let me quickly open this up so I'll show you so that you have an idea of what to expect. So let me share this with us. Let me drop this in the chat box first of all. Right, so I've dropped it in the chat box. Now I'm going to, let me open it incognito because I already tried this out earlier. So I just want us to see what it looks like what the experience will be when you want to sign up. Now you open your browser and then you put in the link, right? So it will open up the web page. And then the first thing you're seeing already, join the Microsoft 365 developer program. Join now. So click on join now. So now it will not ask you to sign in, right? Using a Microsoft account. Now, just sign in using the account that you used to sign up on Microsoft Teams, right? To be able to join this textilers call. So you can sign in using that email address, right? So for me, that account is at gmail.com. Right, so this is actually my personal Microsoft account. You're probably wondering, okay, why is an at gmail.com actually a Microsoft account? So Microsoft makes it possible for you to have like a single identity, right? So you don't need to, it's not compulsory you create like an at microsoft.com for you to call it a Microsoft account, right? You can convert your existing Gmail account or Yahoo account to a Microsoft account. And in case it turns out that you do not have, maybe you try to sign in with your existing personal account, right? And it doesn't go through. It tells you that, oh, this does not exist or incorrect password. If you are sure that you already have a Microsoft account, if it says incorrect password, you can reset your password, or you just come here and click on create one, right? No account, create one. So it's really easy and simple steps. So once you enter this, I'll click on next. It will ask me for my password. I remember I can't remember my personal Microsoft account right now. But if I remember it, I'll just enter. Okay, wait, I think I remember it. Let me try this. Uh-huh. Sorry. Sorry, I can't remember it right now. I know I saved it somewhere. So, but let's assume that this was you and you've forgotten the password. You don't have it saved anywhere. That means you can reset. You can click on forgot password and have it reset, right? But if you remember your password, you write it, and then you can also ask that a code is emailed to you. So, but once you've gotten through this initial sign in stress and all of that, right, and you get in, then the system is going to walk you through the steps. Sorry, just give me a second. I know I have my password saved somewhere here. Okay. Aha. So now it has let me in. So mind you, I have signed up for this um developer program already. So it won't. Yes, exactly. So as you can see, I already signed up for the developer program. So I currently have I have an active tenant. Um, you can see my administrator name, you can see when it expires, my domain name, and all of that. So but for you, because it's a new sign up for you, right? So when you sign in with your when you sign up with your personal Microsoft account, you enter your password, it will now walk you through steps, right? So you just go through with those steps, those easy steps, and then before you know it, you'll be at this point. So when you get sorry. So when you get your email address and password, right? How do you now start to use the Microsoft 365 service, right? So once you get your email address, so all you now need to do is you open a new tab. Sorry, I'm on incognito, so I just want to leave this incognito page. So you just open a new tab and then, oh, okay, no, don't use my incognito like that. And then once you've successfully signed up for the demo tenant, right, go to portal.office.com. I will send this link, I'll paste this link in the chat box for our group, right? So portal.office.com. Now, it will ask you to sign in, or it will automatically sign me in since I'm already, yes. So it automatically signs me in, right? So now portal.office.com brings me to the Microsoft 365 homepage. Now, this is what a typical homepage of Microsoft 365 looks like. Even for if you are using it as an individual, if you are using it in a corporate environment, people working in your bank and what have you, this is the same homepage they see. Just that, of course, they are in a different tenant or a different organization, right? So This is basically Microsoft 365, the welcome page, the home page. So at the left hand side, you can see a quick view of some of the apps you have access to, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. I have Outlook. Outlook is actually where you have your emails stored. So your we call it the Exchange Online server. So there's a server that accepts emails on your behalf, or on behalf of your organization. So that's called the Exchange Online server, right? So that server is connected to Outlook. So Outlook just points to that server and then collects emails and then displays them to you, right? So you get to know more about this as we proceed. And then we have OneDrive for business. So OneDrive for business is similar to like your Google Drive, right? So similar to your Google Drive, where you get to store your files. You can share those files with your team members, you can share them with your family and all of that. Then you have Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is like your chat-based workspace. So it's a place where you get to have your meetings, have your screen share sessions, like what we are taking advantage of already, right? You can it has like a phone system. It's a broad and a very robust application in Microsoft 365, and so on and so forth. You have so many other apps in here. So, but for you to see a bigger view, you click on this app launcher at the top left, right? So when you click on app launcher, you can see more apps that you have access to, right? And then if you even wanted, you can click on all apps and you can easily access as you like, right? You can easily access, you can easily get to play around with them and all of that. Now, I want to switch accounts. I want to actually sign into another account that has more features so that you get to see. I'm trying to sign out of this one. Yes. I want to introduce you to the admin center, right, for Microsoft 365. Hmm. Because from next week, we would actually be walking around the admin center. How can you create users? How can you create users? How can you create users? How can you create groups? How can you manage an environment? How can you manage subscriptions? What are the subscription options that you have, right? How can you add a domain and all of that? Remember, the whole point of this is you are looking at a modern workplace. How can you manage a modern workplace? How can you show that you are telling, you are applying for like an internship role or a support role or an administrator role? As an administrator, you need to understand the environment and how it works. So this is another tenant that I have access to, right? It's also a trial tenant, but you can see it's still similar to that last view that we had. So this is the home page. From here, I can get a quick view to some of the things I was working on, right? Left hand side, I can see some of my apps and all of that. Now, if I click on, for example, Outlook, it opens on a new page. I can see my emails. I can compose new emails. I can send them out. I can receive emails and all of that. I can customize my mailbox to my liking. So this is my mailbox, right? So it's similar to like if you were using a Gmail on the web, right? Similar to what you will see. So you have your inbox, you have your draft, you have sent items, deleted items, and so on and so forth, right? And then you can click on, if I wanted to compose a new message, I'll just click on new message, and then I can enter who am I sending the message to. Maybe I want to copy somebody in that message. I want to add a subject and so on and so forth. And once I'm done composing my message, I click on send, right? This is a key part of Microsoft 365, the Outlook section. Now, aside Outlook, we have OneDrive for Business. So if I click on OneDrive, it will open up OneDrive for Business in another page, right? Like I said, once you sign up for your trial, please play around with this. Upload documents, send out test emails, and all of that, right? So this is my OneDrive. It's just a file repository. You can see I have a folder in here, right? I actually use this. So I created this tenant for because I recently completed my master's program. So I actually created this tenant for my project, right? I did a project work around Microsoft 365. So I created, I had a lot of folders created. I created like a file repository and all of that. And I hosted all of this on this Microsoft 365 tenant. And the beautiful thing is that, I got to do my work. I didn't have to pay for the tenant because I got to take advantage of like this trial tenant. And, I could build on it. I could, really showcase what the capabilities of Microsoft 365 to my supervisor, and I was done, right, without any issues and all of that. So you can create a new document or a new folder just by clicking on new. You can create a new folder from here, a Word document. If I click on Word document, it will open another page. You can see everything is online, right? So I don't, even if I don't have Microsoft Word installed on my laptop, I can still edit documents. I can still create documents, and then I can share them with my colleagues. Now, I can work on it. You can see that this looks like the normal Microsoft Word. Yeah, like the normal Microsoft Word that you would normally have on your desktop, but it has this like modern feel to it, right? So you can just let's assume this was a document. I'm like minutes, okay, minutes of meeting, right? And then I put date 12 to 2022, right? Now I've created this. Let's assume now I want to I want to have my team members I want to have my team members collaborate on this document with me, right? Because the power of Microsoft 365 is actually collaboration. So, in the sense that you can actually invite people to work on a document with you, you can invite people to collaborate on a project with you, and everybody is working at the same time. Now, I'm currently editing this document. I want to share it with my team members and have them come in and then work on it with me. All I need to do is I'll click on share, right? So when I click on share, it will bring up a box where I can enter the person's email address, right? So you set the rule first of all. Anyone with this link can edit. But if you don't want the person to be able to edit the document, you can say, oh, can view, right? So you only want this person to be able to view the document, to review it. They shouldn't make any changes to the document, right? You only want them to view it. So you can change that setting, right? And then you enter the person's email address. This person can be someone with a Microsoft 365 account. It can be an external person. It can be, it can be anybody. You just enter the person's email address and then you type in a message, oh, please collaborate or help me make changes to this document or help me check if this is correct, right? And then when you're done, you click on send. Now, the other person will receive an email, and then all they need to do is to click on that email, and it will give them access to it, walk them through some simple steps. They will get access to the document. They can edit the document or they can view the document. They can leave comments for you on that document, and you just get to work as if nothing happened, right? You can leave comments. Of course, you can leave comments on a particular section just by selecting and then click on comments, or just right click and then um right click and select new comment, right, as required, and then leave a comment on that particular section, and so on and so forth. So it's quite versatile. And the beautiful thing about this is that, how many of us noticed at the top of this document it says, of course, gave it a should I say a default name, right? Just document one, right? But do you notice this part that says saved? Now, everything you do in the Microsoft 365 platform, right? If you're working on a document, you're working on, you're editing a file or what have you, it is saved automatically. So gone are the days of Control S. I remember when we just started learning how to use Microsoft Word with our big desktop computer and all of that. Then my computer teacher will be like, Don't forget to press Ctrl S to save your file, to save your changes. Because if the school computer should go off right now, that's it. All your work is wasted. And then we didn't have a UPS connected to the computer. So if they take the lights, that's it. You have to start all over from the beginning. But now you can work on your document and it is getting saved automatically to your OneDrive, right? So if I come back here, you can see that document one modified a few seconds ago, right? So that's how easy it is to create files. You can upload documents from your computer simply by clicking on files or folder. Do you want to upload a file or a folder, right? You can upload right from here. You can also sync your OneDrive to your laptop or to your desktop, right? So that in the future, you don't need to always come online for you to view your documents. So you just click on sync, it will walk you through some easy steps. And going forward, right from your file explorer, you know where you have your file explorer, where you have your documents, your pictures on your computer, you will have an area that says OneDrive, and then either personal or OneDrive to say the name of your account, right? And then from there, you can now access all your files. You can edit them right on your computer. That's how OneDrive for Business works. And then, we have other apps. You have your Excel, you have Yammer. Yammer is like the social media platform on Microsoft 365. You have Power BI, so that's the funny thing. We have the Power BI class going on right now, or that another track. You have the Power Apps class going on right now. All of these are under Microsoft 365, right? All of these are apps within Microsoft 365. So you get to see how to manage these apps, right, going forward. So now, as an administrator, where is the place that you go to for you to be able to manage apps, for you to create users, to manage users, and all of that? That is the admin page. Now, mind you, only administrators get to see this icon, this admin icon. If you are not an administrator, you will not see the icon. When you create a trial tenant, when you sign up for a trial tenant, by default, you are the admin of that tenant. So you can create users, you can block users, you can do whatever you want, right, going forward. So to view the admin page, I'll click on admin. Now it's opening the admin center. Yes. So this is my Microsoft 365 admin center. It is the same view for someone. If there is an administrator right now who is trying to manage his environment for a bank, if he clicks on the admin center, he sees this. If he's working with a media company or wherever and they are using Microsoft 365, he clicks on the admin center, he still sees this similar page. So even though you are using a trial tenant, you have a similar experience as all these persons, and you can play around with it. You can get to understand how it works, how you can manage it going forward. Now, at the left hand side, you have users. You can manage your users, you can manage teams and groups, you can manage roles. So you have various roles. Like I mentioned earlier, when you create a tenant, a trial tenant, right, you are added as the administrator by default. So that's called a global administrator. So as a global administrator, you can do basically manage all aspects of the Microsoft 365 tenants, right? So you can manage all aspects of the Microsoft 365 tenant. Then you can create resources like meeting room resource. You can create device resources and all of that. You can view billing information. So to see when your next subscription is up or what sort of services you even have access to. You can connect to Microsoft support. So Microsoft Global Support, you can actually create a support ticket right from here. You can set up, you can have your settings, looking at your domains. You can add a custom domain name and all of that. You can set up your Microsoft 365 tenants. You can view reports to see how users are active on the environment and all of that. And then you can view health reports. So global health, maybe if there is a global problem with um Outlook, for example, if you come to health, you actually get to see. So if you click on service health, you will see recent issues around Microsoft 365 apps, and you will see what the Microsoft team is doing to resolve those problems. So that's a question that can come up in the exam, for example, right? They can ask you, there is currently all users in your organization are currently unable to access their email, right? They click on email, they are getting an error that this service is currently unavailable. You have checked the network, everybody's network is working fine. Where do you go to confirm, to see if there is an issue? The answer is you go to service health under the admin center, right? So if you come to service health, you get to see the current status report, if there is any incident. So looking at all services, no, it says here no active issues to show. So if there's an active issue, a global issue, you actually see it here. It will be listed. You can also come to incidents. So if there was any recent incident that was critical, you will see it listed here, and so on and so forth. So that's an example of a question that you can get asked. Now, if I want to create, and then of course, if I click on show all, I have access to other admin centers, right? So there's the security admin center, there's the compliance admin center, there's the endpoint manager, Azure Active Directory, Exchange admin center, and so on and so forth. It is quite robust. But like I said, we are focusing on fundamentals, right? As we advance in our training, as we advance in our sessions, then we now get to do a deeper dive into most of these settings, right? For now, we'll just focus on the fundamental areas. So a very key fundamental area, of course, is how can I create a user, right? I've created a tenant. I want to create an account and give to my sister that going forward she can send emails to me. She can also have access to the Microsoft 365 tenant. The both of us can be testing out this environment together. How do I do that? Right? So you come to users and then you click on active users. When you click on active users, you get to see all the users in your tenant. So what happens is that when you sign up for a tenant, a trial tenant, especially a tenant that is not custom, you just select the option of, oh, okay, you should just go ahead to create the tenant, with default settings and all of that. So what Microsoft does is that they will just create some should I say dummy users. So these users are not actually, they don't actually exist. They were just created by the Microsoft system when I was signing up for this trial, right? So I can select this user, for example, and then decide to delete the account, right? I can delete the user just by selecting the user because I know this user is not actually existing, right? So to create a new user, I've selected that to create or to add a new user, all I need to do is to click on add a user, right? This add a user box in here. So I click on add a user, and then I can enter the user's first name, the user's last name, the okay, let me just do that already. So Giga, and then the display name is here. Then sorry, a moment, please. What's wrong? Wait. Sorry. Yeah, so sorry about that. My baby the came in for some attention. Yeah, are we still together?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
still here.
all right then. Okay, so yes, I was walking us through the Microsoft 365 environment, right? Um, yeah. Okay. So yes, so to create a user, right? Once you sign up for the trial tenant, you come over to admin, and then under users, you can create a new user. So you enter the first name, the last name, automatically brings in the display name. So you can now put in your username. So for example, you want that this new user that's joined the organization standard is to use first name and then last name, right? Or maybe it's an organization that they don't like. Sometimes you receive official emails and you see that maybe somebody's name is um Angela Nwankwo, but instead of writing it in full, Angela Nwankwo at maybe at konga.com, right? You'll just see AN. That's A for Angela, N for Nwankwo, AN at konga.com. So that depends on the company's naming convention, like naming preference. So how they want to style their email addresses, right? So it's like an internal rule. So depending on what works for your organization or what works for you as an individual. So I'll just say, let's say for us, I'll say G for the first name Gig, and then the surname, yeah, G Adebola, right? Or G dot Adebola, right? Then at it picks the domain name. So now, if you notice something here, so this my domain name says it's a very long domain name, M365 star, whatever, whatever, and all of that, dot on Microsoft.com. Now, this is what you call a tenant name in Microsoft 365. When you sign up initially for a Microsoft 365 subscription, either as a company or as an individual, right? By default, you are given a tenant. Now, that tenant's name cannot be changed. However, you can have a custom domain name. It's just like, for example, you want to buy a plot of land, right? You select the you selected the area that you want to purchase the land in. The area is in like maybe latitude, this longitude, whatever, whatever. That location of the land cannot be changed, right? However, you can choose to name your house whatever you want going forward. You can name your house the Gray House. You can name your house Hallelujah House or whatever you want going forward. They don't care about that. But the actual location of that land can never be changed, right? So that's similar to when you sign up for a Microsoft 365 tenant. You have a tenant name that is given to you that is always there, right? But then you can have a custom domain name. So for example, let's assume that I set up this tenant for Konga, right? This is the actual tenant's name. However, I can add a custom domain name that says at konga.com, right? And if Konga tomorrow buys Jumia, that means Jumia will now be under Konga as an organization. So meaning that we have to add Jumia.com also, because we can't say, oh, okay, because we bought Jumia, we want to now totally rebrand Jumia and say Jumia would now be henceforth called Konga.com. We might still have some business that we are doing with other customers that will require that we continue to use that Jumia.com email address. So you can have multiple domain names. And then if we had, so as me, I had multiple domain names here, what I'll do is after I've entered the username, I will now click on this drop down and then I can select any domain name that applies to my organization, right? I'll show you where you can add domains. And then I will now go ahead to create my user as I need. For the password, you can choose to automatically create a default, just an initial password for your user, right? So if I do that, the system is going to auto generate a password, and then this is an option that says require this user to change their password when they first sign in. So I can choose this, select this, so that when I share the login details with this user, right, the user is going to now be requested by the system, oh, set a new password, right? And then once I'm fine with the settings here, I just click on next. Now it's asking me to assign a license that I would like this user to have. Now, default location, this user is in Nigeria, so I don't need to change the user's location. But if the user was in another country, right, I can change that. Then to select the license. Now, based on the license that I have access to, that I have purchased, right, or that maybe based on my trial tenants, I have it will list the licenses that you have here. Now, one of the licenses is Enterprise Mobility Plus Security, EMS. If I select this, I can I can come down and then click on apps to see what, oh, this EMS license, what does it even give me access to? So these are some of the apps that EMS gives me access to, right? So some of these look like very big names and all of that. If you're not sure about something, you can always Google about it. Most of this information is available online, right? So if this is the plan that works for me, I'll select this. Or maybe I want this user to have this plan, and then I also want them to have the F3 plan. I can select it as I require, and so on and so forth. And then it's also possible for you to create a user without a license. So you can actually create a user and don't give them a license. Maybe the reason you are creating that, you are doing that is because you don't even have, you've not purchased any license for that user, or there's no available license, or you are just creating the user account to see what it feels like to create a user account, right? So for different reasons. So I can go ahead to select this option and say create user without license. So as you can see here, it says they may have limited or no access to Office 365 until you assign a product license. So I click on next, and then role. This user I'm creating, do I want the user to be an administrator? Is this user going to be an ordinary user? So the user can sign in, the user can send and receive emails based on the license I give them, or the user can create apps based on the license I give them. Or I want them to be administrators. I want them to be able to come into this admin page also, and also create users with me as I need. So if I want to make this user an admin, this is the point where I actually select that. So I click on that roles, and then you can see by default it selects user no admin access. But if I select admin center access, then it will now ask me what sort of access do I want to give the user. So there are different types of admin access, right? There's the exchange administrator. If you click on the info, you get to see a quick summary of what each admin access entails. So exchange administrator gives the user full access to Exchange Online, to create and manage groups, to manage service requests, monitor service health, and so on and so forth. So Exchange Online, like I said earlier, is the server that accepts and that sends and receives emails on your company's behalf, right? So that it's the server at the back end that communicates with Outlook. Outlook is the place you click on to view your emails. So Exchange Online is that server that accepts and sends and receives emails on your behalf. So an Exchange administrator basically will be able to manage things around your email, the email environment. Do you want a global administrator? This is an administrator that has unlimited access. This administrator can do and undo, right? An administrator that is a global reader. This is an administrator that can view all administrative features and settings in all admin centers. An administrator that is a help desk admin, various admin privileges that are available, right? So it would be good for you to get familiar with them, because an example of a question that can come up in a certification exam is you are given a scenario, right? Alex just joined company ABC. You want Alex to be able to manage Microsoft Teams, to be able to add members to teams, to be able to set rules and how to manage, be able to manage any other app within Microsoft 365. Which admin role would you give to Alex? Sorry. So that means you will most likely want to select from the options that will be given to you. You will just select the Teams administrator, because you don't want Alex to be able to do any other thing except for him. Yeah. Sorry, I got knocked off for a bit. Okay, so when you select an admin setting for your user, you just click on next, and then it will give you a quick summary. You can see, okay, this is the display name I entered, the password, I asked the system to auto-generate it, product license, and all of that. I decided to create the user without a license. I'm giving the user this admin role, it seems administrator, so I can click on finish adding. Now it tells me that this user has been created, right? And then this is the user details. So as the admin in the environment now, HR reached out to me and asked me to create an account for this user. So now I've successfully created the account. I can just copy the details and then send them to HR. HR will now send these details to Mr. Adebola, and then Mr. Adebola can sign in going forward, right? So as simple as that. Now I close this. So that's how you can create a user, right? That's when you're creating one user. But what if I'm in an organization that we have over we suddenly we have a massive recruitment, right? We have a massive recruitment, and then we have over um um maybe over 20 new staff resuming on the same day, and HR needs me to create accounts for those 20 people. Does that mean I'll start creating them, adding them one after the other, one after the other? No, I don't need to. So to create those user accounts, I just click on add multiple users, and then you can upload a CSV file. A CSV file is like a an Excel document, right? That you just fill in the necessary details of the users and then upload to the system. So the system will now automatically create those users based on the information you have provided. So, but where do you get the initial Excel document? The template. You need a template. So from that create or add multiple users, you download a you can download a CSV file that includes example user information, so that you know the sort of details you need to provide for the system to create the users. Now with this option, you can add up to 249 users at once, right? So you can create up to 249 users at once, and then each user must have, so avoid common errors. You can upload up to 249 users. Each user must have a unique email address, and then these are just some rules, right, to guide you towards creating these users. And then once you have downloaded the CSV file and uploaded the details as required, then you can now sorry, once you've downloaded the CSV file, you've updated the details as required, you can now upload that file, right? Just by come here, you browse, you select the file, and then you upload it to the system. So it will just walk you through the steps, and then you have your users created as needed. So that's just an example of how you can create users, you can create multiple users, and so on and so forth. You can also reset user password. Maybe Alex reaches out and he says, "Oh, I've forgotten my password, or I've been locked out of my account. I can't remember my password." As an administrator, you can come here and then select reset password, and you easily do that. Or maybe you wanted to update Alex's, currently under licenses, you can see for Alex Wilbur, Alex has no license, right? So if I want to add a new license for Alex, so I can select Alex and then I will now click on the option that says manage product licenses. So I can change his, or I can add a new license for Alex. And then you can also manage his role, you can export users, you can manage groups, and so on and so forth, right? Then under, so that's really it for users. There are so many options in here. You can come in and then play around with it, create users, delete users, um assign licenses to users, just play around with the environment and see how it works, right? This is teams, under teams and groups, so you can view the active teams and groups in your tenants on your environment, right? You can create new new groups. There are various group types in Microsoft 365. Next week we'll get to see and learn more about these groups, right? So you can, but basically you can create these groups right from here. And then roles, you get to see role assignments, the different types of roles in your environment and all of that. You get to see the role list over here. Then resources, from resources you can see, from resources you can see, so you can, it's possible for you to create a resource address, or a resource, should I say, group, right, for a room or an equipment. Now, how this works is that in organizations, if someone wants to use a meeting room, right? If somebody wants to make use of a meeting room, the person usually has to book that meeting room. You can't just walk into any available meeting room and say you want to have your team meeting, because maybe the MD has already booked that meeting room to have, the MD has already booked that meeting room to host a general meeting, right? So if you're in the meeting room as at the time the MD has already booked the conference room, you'll be bounced because you didn't book that resource, you didn't book that meeting room. So it's possible for you to create a resource, or a resource mail, a resource address, right, for your equipment, for your rooms and all of that. We'll look more into this next Saturday. And then you also have billing details, so you can view the licenses that come with your plan, that come with your trial tenant. So if I click on licenses, for example, I can view the sort of licenses I have access to based on the trial I have. So these are some of the licenses I have access to. I have Microsoft EMS, that's Enterprise Mobility Plus Security E5. I have Microsoft Power Automate free, over almost 1,000, sorry, I say almost 1,000, almost 10,000 licenses that I have. I've only used two, right? Actually, I have 10,000 licenses, yeah. So I have Office 365 E3 licenses. I have two. I've already used two of those licenses. You can see available licenses and assigned licenses here, and so on and so forth. Then, if I wanted to set up, I mentioned earlier that you can add multiple domain names. Domain names are like, for example, conga.com, right? Textilers.com. Gmail.com is an example of a domain name, right? Descasio.com, and so on and so forth, right? So, but by default, like I mentioned earlier, there's always a default tenant name that cannot be changed. It just remains there. But you can now switch your Yeah, so sorry about that. I got disconnected for a bit. A moment, please. Okay, yes. So you can add domains from here. You can click on add a domain and then it will walk you through the steps. So you can, for you to add a domain, first of all, you need to own that domain. You need to buy it. Or sometimes you can even get it's possible for you to sign up for free domains or like a trial. It's more like a trial something. So similar to how you can have a trial tenant. So you can actually get some free access to some free domains just so that you can test it out, you can add it to your tenant and then play around with it. Oh, okay, maybe I create a user with a free domain or I create a user without a free domain and so on and so forth, right? So when you have your domain name already, maybe you've purchased it already, then you can add it in here and then it will walk you through steps to verify that you are the owner of that domain, right? So when you are walking through those steps, some of the requirements for you to verify that you are the owner of the domain is, for example, you add a TXT record. So a TXT record is like a record that confirms that you are actually the owner of that domain, right? It's something that when you purchase your domain, you can easily now copy it from this Microsoft 365 platform and enter it into um what's it called and enter it into the domain management site, right? And then both systems will connect and then Microsoft confirms that, oh yes, this person actually owns this domain, right? Remember, the whole point of all of this is about administration, it's about managing the environment, right? So that's for settings. For setup, you can set up like your environment. For reports, you get to view like your usage report. You can see how many users are actually signing into the environment and so on and so forth. For example, you can be asked a question like, um, if you wanted to, or if I want to see the number of users that have signed into Microsoft 365 or that have signed into Microsoft Teams in the last 30 days, where can someone go to, right? Where, as an administrator, where can you go to? You go to the usage section in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So it can seem like a whole lot, right? But I would like to encourage us at the end of sorry, my time is like I'm about 3 minutes into over my time, my scheduled time. So but I would like to encourage us at the end of this call, right? Still take out time, um, carry out some research on, all the various things we've spoken about today. Cloud computing, um, Microsoft 365, the Microsoft 365 features, and all of that, right? Microsoft 365 plans that are available to you, right? Available to organizations. Do a little research about domains. What are domains, right? I'm sure for some of us, you never really thought of the idea of a domain before, right? But now you're hearing about domains. But when you hear the idea behind, oh, you hear a conga.com or a jumia.com, it's something you can relate with. But you never really, for some of us, we never really knew that that was what they were called, that such names were called domains, right? So you can Google about it. One thing about learning tech is continuous research, right? You need to be open to learning, even if it might seem overwhelming at some point, right? Nothing good comes easy, like they say, right? So you need to be open to learn, ask questions, because when the good thing about when you research is that then you have questions to ask, right? And then you can learn more. So ask questions and then we get to share as a class, we get to share as a team. And please, um I sent a link for the demo to sign up for the trial tenant, right? To sign up for the Microsoft developer program, which will give you access to the trial tenant. So please, I encourage all of us, actually go ahead, sign up for the trial, and then create your tenants, right? Play around with the tenants ahead of next week's class, because next week we'll just be going straight into, we won't be having much slides and all of that. We'll just be going straight into demo sessions. How can you manage that tenant you have created, right? How can you add things? How can you remove things, and so on and so forth? So thank you all so much. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? Any observations? Any fears, right? Based on all we have discussed today, because I know it's been quite extensive. So do you have any questions? Any remarks?
I don't have any questions yet. I was following all through. Like I already had, I already have the Microsoft developer account. So I think I'll just go back and then go through
Oh,
what
beautiful.
you've talked about. So it looks like an interesting journey.
It is. It is. Thanks, Frances.
So thank you very much. Thank you
Anyone
for.
else? Yeah, sorry. Sorry to cut you. We cut you short.
No, I just wanted to say thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anyone else? Eniton, Uchechi, Adekoya.
Um, Thank you for the class. For now, I don't have any question.
Okay. Okay. But I hope we're all going to really follow up and then sign up, just as Frances has done, right? Sign up for the developer program so that you get access to that tenant, and then you can play around with it during the week ahead of next week's class. All right, then. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Um, if you have any questions, of course, you still have access to the Teams page, right? So you have access to our chat page, so you can drop any questions you might have. I would upload my slide into our file section, so everyone will have access to the slide also, so that you can read through, or you can easily access at any point in time. So thank you, and have a wonderful and restful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye
Uh,
bye. See you next week.
yeah, bye. Yes.